The topic today is how to be the person in the room that everyone wants to meet. It's what we all aspire to, right? We want to be that person. And I got here today, and I was talking to some people, and one of the gals said, so what's the topic? Is it something about Mardi Gras? And I said, well, no, but it does make me think about, you know, at Mardi Gras, how do you become the person everyone wants to meet? You lift up your shirt, right? And let's be honest. And then you get beads. I mean, you know, that's it. But we're not going to talk about that today here. When I was working on this presentation, there was a person who kept coming to my mind as I was working on this, and the person is Dale Carnegie. Because, and is there a show of hands who have read How to Win Friends and Influence People? Yeah, not surprising. Because he talks about this, he talks about it, you know, he lived in the early 1900s, and here we are in the early 21st century, and the points are still the same. The valuable lessons are still exactly the same. So, who are the people that everyone wants to meet? In my estimation, there are three categories of people. There are the listeners, the connectors, and the resources. And we're going to talk a little bit about each one. The listeners are those people who, when you meet them and you shake their hand, they ask you about yourself and then they're quiet. Or they ask you a follow-up question. And they genuinely, intently listen to what it is you have to say. And this is where the Dale Carnegie thing came into my mind, because one of the stories, he tells two really interesting, he tells a lot of interesting stories in his book, but one of the interesting stories is that he went to a bridge party and he didn't know how to play bridge. And there was a woman there who also didn't know how to play bridge, and the two of them start talking, and she says to him, oh, Mr. Carnegie, would you please, I'd love to hear about all your world travels, because he traveled the world. And he said to her, well, I'd love to share that with you. I understand you've been to Africa. I've only been there on a layover. How was it? Did you see these parts of Africa that I hear are just fascinating? And that woman proceeded to talk the entire evening about Africa, because that was his intention. And she started thinking she wanted to hear about his travels, but he turned it around. Another story he tells is that he went to a dinner party, and he sat next to a botanist. And he knew nothing about botany, but thought it was fascinating. So he sat there at the dinner party, and through the entire thing just kept talking to this guy, asking questions and listening and listening. And as they were leaving, the gentleman who he was talking to turned to the host and said, boy, that Dale Carnegie sure is a great conversationalist. Isn't that who you want to be? Right? If you want to be the person that other people want to meet, you want to be the person people think is great to be around, is a great conversationalist, is a great listener. What made him a great conversationalist? He was a listener. He asked questions. It wasn't just listening. You know, it wasn't just that thing where, okay, someone told me I had to do it, so I'm going to meet you at a networking event. Well, not going to do that. So I'll meet you at a networking event, and I'm going to, you know, ask you questions because it was what Diane told me I had to do, but, you know, I'm sort of looking around, you know, fidgeting with my business cards because I really want to give you one, but, you know, we don't do that. So, right? Okay, that's not what I'm saying. That's not the listening. The listening is really being present and involved and engaged in what the other person has to say. Okay? And why is that? It's because people really want to feel valued. And if you think about yourself, one of the best ways that you feel that you have value is when someone's interested in your story. It's when they're interested in what it is you have to say and what's going on with you. So then, of course, they want to be around you. Now, are you always going to have to sit there and listen to them tell them the story? No. It turns into a relationship, but it has to start somewhere. The second people are the connectors. And everybody loves a connector, right? Because you know, well, that person knows everybody. And they're going to be able to connect the dots. And the great thing about being a connector is, I mean, there's, well, probably not in this room, because this is a bit of a different crowd. But I've done this in rooms where people will say, I really don't like talking to strangers. You know, it makes me uncomfortable. I don't have to. I know I gotta go up. I really don't want to do that. And so then we have to go through the whole, well, here's what you do. You know, you talk to them about them. You do all that. When you're a connector, you're on a mission, right? You have a reason for being there. It's not about you. It's about those people. It's about her, and who can I connect her to? Or it's about him, and who can I connect him to? So now the focus is completely off of you. And the listeners, the focus was completely off of them. Are we noticing a theme here of who the people are, who other people want to meet? And then we have the resources. And these are some of my favorite people because I think we don't really pay as much attention to this as we should. The resources are the people who, because they know everybody, and because they're aware of what's going on in their community, they have a lot of information to share for the people who need and want the information. Now notice I said for the people who need and want the information. So these are the people who think they know a whole bunch of stuff, and they're going to share it with everyone because everyone should want to hear it. These are the people who people get to know, and they get to know that you know the people, you know, you are so out there and so involved in your community and so involved with the people around you that if I need a virtual assistant, I'm going to reach out to you because I'm pretty darn sure you know someone who can do that kind of thing, right? I got an email while we were here. This is not the greatest, it's not a happy story. I got an email from a neighbor who unfortunately is going to be going through a divorce. And we have another neighbor who works for a law firm, and she had gone to him and said, could you suggest an attorney? And he did. And then she reached out to me and said, okay, he suggested one on the east side. Do you know of anybody good on the west side? Now, she's not reaching out to everybody in the hood. You know, she doesn't want everybody to know she's going through this. But she reached out to the people who she knew were connected, the people who she knew had those sorts of resources. It's who you have in your toolbox, right? And so when you're out and you're networking, part of the reason you're networking and part of the reason you're listening to people and you're attentive is not necessarily because you're going to do business with them, but because you can learn about them and then you know about them and you know what's good about them. You know the value that they bring. So that when other people have needs, you can help them find those resources. It's like connecting, only it's not connecting in the room. It's having that, I know I can call that person. I know that person's reliable. And something that our clients love is when we're that person. When we're the person they can turn to because they trust us already. So they're going to trust the people we tell them about because they've already vetted us. You know what I mean? It's like you wouldn't go to the yellow pages for these things, so to speak. You wouldn't Google it, right? Now this is what I have to say now. You wouldn't Google it. You'd go to the person who you knew had all of those connections. So when you're that person, and you're listening, and you're connecting, and you're a resource, why wouldn't people want to know you? As opposed to the person who shows up, takes their business card out of their pocket, right, like this, shakes your hand, hands you their business card, and starts telling you about their business. Who likes that guy? Oh, don't all raise your hands at once, you know, I mean, seriously, right? So you never want to be that guy. You never want to be that person. We were sort of trained before that that's what we were supposed to do, and in reality, business and sales are relationship-based. And so the more you get to know people, and the more you, let me say this, true or false, the reason we go, this will be really interesting to see how people answer this thing. I'm going to say, raise your hand if you think this statement's true. I was trying to figure out how to do it. We go to networking events to grow our business. True or false? If it's true, raise your hand. It was sort of a trick question. Right? Oh no, that's not why I'm supposed to be there. Okay. Okay. But of course, let's be honest. shall we? That's why we're all here. That's why we all go to anything. That's why we leave our house or our business. That's why we put a suit on or, a dress or whatever it is and go and get business cards to grow our business. So here's the interesting thing. We all know that's why we're all here. So we can let that one go, right? You don't have to put it in someone's face. You don't have to prove it to them. Because can't we all just say, okay. And now what am I going to do? Now that you know that's why I'm here, right? What am I going to do? I'm going to give you my spiel? You don't want to know my spiel till you get to know me. And how are we going to do that? So for me, what I like about Be the Person You Want to Meet is that it's so much more relaxing. I don't have to worry about talking about myself. I don't have to worry about talking about my business. I don't have to worry about any of that. Do I have my 30-second commercial down? I don't have to worry about any of that because I'm going to get to know the people in the room and find out about them and think in my head, okay, how can I connect them? And it becomes unconscious, most of the time. The people who know me know that this year I decided to consciously connect people. Usually you just sort of do it as I've seen somebody go, oh, I just met somebody who needs that kind of thing. But this year I really wanted to consciously do it. It's a little trickier. But, because you really have to think, you have to think about who these people are. For the most part, when you're out and about and you're meeting people, just relax. This is the beauty of all of this for me, is that when you're relaxed, and you're just going and you're just meeting people and getting to know them, the things that I mentioned happen naturally, right? You're listening, you're paying attention, because it's not about you. It's never about you. It's always about the other person. And so you're listening and you're paying attention, and all of a sudden something comes to mind, and the connection. So you make it. Could I introduce you to? Could I give so-and-so your phone number? Could I take your card and give it to so-and-so? Okay? And then you're a resource, because you've met all these people and you know all of these people. They're all going to still want to be around you because they know you're connecting them to people and you're, helping them build their business. And that's the way the whole train really works. It's not complicated. It's as simple as everything Dale Carnegie says in his book about, winning friends and influencing people. It's about caring about the other person first and knowing that the money will come. Someone kept saying that to me yesterday. The money will come. The money will come. Absolutely true. You will grow your business by getting out of your own head and getting out of your own way and caring about the other people in the room.